Hey everyone, welcome back to another news show. I'm here with Robbie and it's Friday evening, afternoon, whatever it is. Hello, how are you?
Good. By the way, looking forward to those women's Euros. You can check it out on DR Sports. We're going to be doing absolutely every game of the women's Euros. I'm going to be on a lot of those as well. You're going to be in?
Yeah. Following Italy as always. At least the women's team made a competition. So yeah. No, looking forward to it. It'll be good.
No, it'll be good.
And also sort of flashbacks to last time. We had a great time, didn't we?
It was.
In the men's Euros as well.
I get a feeling that this is going to be, it's obviously it doesn't have the hype so far of the men's, but I think that when it starts off, it's really going to take off. So looking forward to it.
No, I'm looking forward to it as well. Right, we've got more Arsenal news as always. Today's been quite heavy actually for transfer.
Jesus announced it?
Not quite, no.
Okay.
Although it's 5 o'clock, should we have a little scan? People, I think, would be putting it in the chat, to be fair.
Dear.
I read today that there's a good chance it might even be announced next week. Why do we take so long on these things?
What's next week?
Yeah, I'm serious.
By the time we announce a player, be on the transfer list or something. You know what I
have a feeling we'll see him running out against Orlando before we actually see him announced. I mean, look, we've all seen the footage. He's in an Arsenal shirt. Yeah. He's done the media stuff. It's all confirmed. There's nothing to worry about. But it is just another example of how unbelievably slow Arsenal are. Yeah, it's just everything takes that little bit longer when it comes to announcements and, just confirming things and moving on to the next thing. It feels like this thing is like hanging over us. I know that's not how transfers work, but it does feel like it's hanging over us until we can, move on to the next one.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it'd definitely be today, and it still could be. It might be during the show.
Easily.
It's the 1st of July as well. It's the day when a lot of players get released and players get announced. So I'll be surprised if it's not announced today. But like you said, typical Arsenal, taking ages to do everything. Or is it just? I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, is it just us? Because we, obviously we're Arsenal fans, so is it just us?
Yeah, maybe.
Or is that the norm at most clubs? I don't know, man.
Well, Man United fans weren't happy that the Malaysia, I don't know how it's pronounced, that deal seems to be taking ages, and they're going, why is it taking so long? So, I
don't know. I don't know if maybe it's just us, and we just.
I think we definitely take longer with announcements.
Yeah, we're just filled with anxiety all the time, and just
Well, other clubs sometimes hit.
There's a notification on my phone. Lewis Hamilton, second fastest to Lando Norris in no practice in the Grand Prix. I thought it could have been Arsenal announcement.
I'm looking out for that Jesus. About that, to be fair. I think other clubs, they do that thing where they'll actually announce that they've agreed a deal sometimes, whereas we don't actually announce anything until they're in through the door. But apparently you can get the Jesus number 9 shirt on the club website. Apparently that's there, so
announce it.
They're not hiding
Mark Smith here with a super chat. He says, I think the reason no announcement about Jesus is because Lacazette's contract expired yesterday, who previously wore the number 9 shirt. But we ain't heard nothing today. Yeah. Unless during this show, we'll keep, if it does drop. Yeah. Because I remember, what was me and you were doing the show? Fabio Vieira drop. Yeah. Talking of Fabio Vieira, I know you're going to get into, this whole thing about Martinez and where's he going to decide, right? But talking of that, I was horrified today, right, when I saw a picture.
Horrified.
I'm horrified, right? I saw a picture of Fabio Vieira wearing a protective boot on his left foot as well. I'm like, the guy's only just got it. He's injured already.
Do you think it happened during the medical? I mean, it's sort of like, sorry about that. But yeah, you're fit to go.
The stethoscope fell on his foot.
Yeah, oops. But yeah, you're pass fit. Welcome to Arsenal. We're definitely haunted, aren't we? But should we put everyone's minds at ease already? I mean, apparently it's a minor foot issue that they knew about before. So maybe something from international.
That's what they said when we signed Tierney.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I mean, listen, it's actually not funny. I mean,
listen, man. When I saw that today now, I'm like, oh my God. The guy's just walked through the door and already he's got a protective boot on already. He's injured already.
I know.
Oh, gosh.
Right. We are cursed, aren't we? I mean, there's no... And it's always the same players at the same time and all that. And yeah, I know.
What are
the chats saying? Do you know people were... Yeah, Mark says Vieira injured already. Typical. People were in the comments before we even went live already asking what's happened.
Jeez.
Yeah. Oh no, Sam says Vieira's like Jack Wilshere 2.0. Look, it's a minor foot injury. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. There's a lot of similarities to them actually.
Jordan says, thing is, Vieira has struggled with injuries most of his career. This is what I said. AFTV just got too hyped over the kid. Has always got injured. Well, I didn't see that. I didn't see that at all.
I don't think that's true. I mean, at least when I looked up his injury record, you know, there was that thing going around, wasn't there? We talked about it on our breakdown of Vieira. You know, that there was this thing going around about how few starts he actually had in the last 2 years. But a lot of that was just they had first teamers in his place and he wasn't quite ready. And then last season he kind of had his breakthrough in the second half of last season. He played on average something like 68 minutes of the second half of the season. So, you know, I wouldn't, you know, don't stress. It's just a minor foot injury. It's all fine. He'll be ready. He'll be on that plane to Nuremberg. Well, we don't know that actually, but surely Orlando. Yeah,
it's Arsenal, man.
I know.
This club, bro.
Does that set us back? That set us back a signing? We need another now.
Oh my God, I don't know. Man.
I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm looking forward to seeing him back. I mean, speaking of seeing players back, and I really want to say this in the most polite way possible, but I saw some of the training pictures of the players coming back, and I had that sense of, yay, Arsenal are back. That's kind of nice. I'm looking forward to seeing them play again. And then I very quickly had that. It's a lot of work still to do, isn't there? Like some of the players I saw back in training.
A lot of players there that are going to go.
Yeah, but
you know,
it kind of like, do you know what it is? These loan deals, they fool you. So Bellerin went out on loan, Mari went out on loan, Torreira went out on loan, Ranison went out on loan, and now you're seeing them back in training.
They're
going,
all back.
Right, we need to get rid of him somehow. I think want those moves as well.
There's a lot of players that are going to be leaving Arsenal. A lot.
Yeah.
Ainsley, Maitland-Niles, Pablo Mari. You know, there was loads of them out there. They're all going to be, you know, they're all going to be. As I said, the only thing that's pleased me so far with this transfer window is that hasn't been our main focus.
Yeah,
has not been like trying to get rid of players. Yeah, we have actually been trying to get players. You know, we're trying to be getting players in. So that's a positive for me. Although, you know, things have kind of slowed down a bit. I want things to get going again. And me and Lee Judges, we did an Invincible podcast going to be out this weekend, and as we said, we want to see Edu reigniting that barbecue again. You know what I mean? Getting those flames up. You know what I mean? Again, because it just seemed to me, I don't know if it's because of the whole, you know, Tottenham have gone in and they've got Richarlison.
Exactly what it is.
And then you're looking at people doing business, and you know, and you just think to yourself, come on, Arsenal, man, the amount of time it's taken to announce Jesus and all of a sudden it's dampened things down. There was a bit of momentum going, you know what I mean? And even just going back on that, talking about players who were on loan and leaving, announced today that Guendouzi has officially left Arsenal now.
Yep.
I think it's £9.25 million we've got for him.
What a scoop that is.
Now, I look on that and I say, this guy, he's broken into the French national team.
Yep.
Playing regular for France now.
Yep.
Had a great season last year at Marseille. How was he gone for so cheap? Yep. How are we looking at players? Let's give an example, because Fabio Vieira cost us £34 million.
Yeah.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. And he's he's not even a full Portuguese international yet.
Yeah.
And Guendouzi is a full international player. Yeah. And has gone for under £10 million. I don't get that. We've given him away. I know there's been the falling outs and stuff like that. And I note today that the manager of Marseille's left, Sam Parley. Apparently he was upset that they didn't get Saliba back. Yeah. And that was one of the things he was upset about. He's saying that they've not brought in enough players and not showing enough ambition. But how are we letting Guendouzi go so cheap? I don't get that. That doesn't seem right to me. Well, that 9 point something million, under £10 million for a player, a French international. He's not 35. Yeah. He's about. Let me check his age, but I'm sure he's about 20 odd.
Yeah, 21 maybe, 22. Yeah. We all know that we've let Matteo Guendouzi go for, you know, a horribly low fee. we've known that it was going to be around that for a while now. The thing is that Arsenal, Arteta and Edu had two paths to take.
23.
Okay, he's 23.
And he
only
turned 23 in April, but that's a player in his prime.
Yeah, this is the gamble they had to take. Either they completely cast him away from the squad because they didn't think he was either a good influence, or they wanted to make a point and stamp their authority and all that. That is the path they took, and that comes at a cost. The cost being that, you know, buying clubs know that they can drive the price really low because you're desperate to get rid of this player.
Yeah, but then bring him back and then sell him on. I mean, let him go and have a great season. What he did at Marseille,
yeah, but it was
and
all
then at the
before.
end of the, I know, but I think that's a mistake.
No, it was a mistake. It's
because, you know,
absolutely a mistake.
when I'm looking at the prices, who's this guy, this kid that Crystal Palace are signing, Czech Decore,
yeah,
right? He had a good season at Lens, but he's not had a better season than Guendouzi. He's not in the French national team. Crystal Palace paying like 20 over 20 million for him.
Yeah.
How has Guendouzi only gone for 10? It don't make no sense.
Yeah.
That's a, you know what I mean, that's an error by Arsenal. It's a big error.
It's a huge
to make
error.
a guy who is, you know, I know he's got a reputation of being a bit of a troublemaker, but he's a young French international.
Yeah.
It don't make sense.
Yeah. Again, it all comes at the price they paid for wanting to be ruthless and wanting to stamp their authority. Now, you know, they could have come to other ways to deal with this kind of stuff, a bit like Tuchel and Lukaku, for example.
I hear that.
You keep them playing, they're not your starter, but you kind of keep them involved or whatever. But then what's the kind of cost of that? Well, Chelsea quite the same. You know, Chelsea had all sorts of issues last season. It wasn't just Lukaku. But they didn't necessarily get a better deal when they let him go, you know, what is it, a couple of days ago. So it is a difficult one. When someone is so publicly not wanted, you can't then go demanding 30, 40 million for him. That's just the problem. And Arteta and Edu wanted to take that stance, and that's what it's reached.
Jay Sayers having a go at me here. He says, Robbie, you are delusional. Are you going on about no one wanted Guendouzi before he was loaned out to Marseille? He couldn't even get a game. Couldn't even get game time at Hertha Berlin. No, see, you're listen to what I said. What I'm saying is, right, we sent him out on loan. I know we was having issues with him.
Yeah.
But we already put into the loan that at the end of it, they had the option to buy him for that cheap. Now, to me, it's an error. We could have bought him back after that loan and then sold him again. We could have either said to them, not what we've done with Saliba, exactly what we've done with Saliba. Remember, they wanted Saliba, and they were talking about how they were going to pay £25 million to get Saliba back. Yeah. Right? We could have bought Guendouzi back, and we could have said to them, right, do you want Guendouzi? 20 million. If they can't afford him, then we see what other clubs around that are interested in him, because he had a successful loan time. It just doesn't, you know. And then when I see the amount of money that players are going for, and we're talking about players in a lot of cases, they've only got 1 year left on their contract and things like that. £10 million, under £10 million for Matteo Guendouzi, a 23-year-old French international, is so low, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree.
And what it does to me, and I know we're going to move on to now, say, for instance, to Martinez, right? What I then think is, if we can afford to chuck away 10 to 15 million on Guendouzi, then don't tell us we ain't got enough money to buy Raphinha or something, or that bid's too high. Because why did we throw away that? You know what I mean? It doesn't make economical sense to me. I'm just saying that.
Yeah, I think he's definitely...
Big up to JJCL17. He says, Robbie speaking facts here. I just believe that.
I agree. I don't think they've handled the Guendouzi thing brilliantly at all from a financial perspective. And actually, if you're going to be ruthless, you make a good point. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, we're willing to just kind of get rid of anyone, but actually we're not willing to pay what it's going to take to bring in their necessary replacements or whatever. We're hearing that Tielemans, they want something like 35 to 40 million. He's a player that comes and adds depth and quality to our midfield. Guendouzi, who I don't think is as good, would have certainly added depth and quality to our midfield. You can't sort of go, you know what, we're going to be ruthless. Whatever happens, we're going to get the squad exactly the place we need. Guendouzi, you're going, we don't care what it is, 10 million, fine. Tielemans a bit too much, well, I'm not sure. Because Chelsea don't operate that way. Chelsea have let Lukaku go. They've had a shocker with Lukaku. They've had an absolute nightmare. They paid 100 million, they've let him go for an £8 million loan fee a year after. They've had an absolute disaster. And I don't think there's any guarantee he even stays there. He probably might come back in a year.
No, he could come back, yeah.
Right. But it's not stopping them getting Sterling and Raphinha. Do you see what I'm saying? They're not sitting there going, oh, well, but actually we can't quite do that deal because we didn't recuperate. If you're going to be ruthless, you've got to do it at both ends, I think. And Arsenal need to show a little bit more of that in this window.
Yeah, and, the next guy we're going to go on to talk about, we really need to show it with him. I mean, we've been in for Martinez for well over a week now. There's been a lot of talk of us trying to get him. And nothing's happened yet. There's supposed to have been three separate bids from Arsenal. The most recent one said to be up towards nearly £38 million.
Yeah.
Ajax
this is a lot.
So far have said no. Well, they haven't really come back and it's been a no so far. Now Manchester United, lots and lots and lots of reports today around that Manchester United are in for Lisandro Martinez and are willing to pay the £43 million, which is what Ajax are looking for. Which at the moment, if the reports are true, we're 5 million off that figure. Now, this is all speculation because as far as we've seen, United have not put a bid in yet for Martinez. But if we're going to get this guy, James, we're going to have to move fast, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about this one. In fact, if I'm to make a prediction on this, just from everything I've kind of read online and all the rumours and reports and everything, I think we're going to have a significant update on Martinez in the next 4 or 5 days, personally. Now, the reason I say it is because you've got Martinez has a big decision to make and clubs are coming back to pre-season. Man United are starting to get on top of their targets. They've got this left-back coming in, which means Martinez would almost certainly play as a centre-back when they've already got Shaw and Tellers as well. And then you've got Arsenal, who I think want to use him as a left-back and have made 3 bids. Now, you're not making...
Or maybe a defensive midfielder. I've even read where possibly United would lose him as a defensive midfielder.
Actually, then that wouldn't surprise me massively. But there you've got a situation where Arsenal aren't making bids if they don't think that this deal is getting to a stage where you start wrapping things up. You want to get things like the fees sorted and whatever, and you've got enough to suggest that he wants to come. Now, Man United have also had similar... encouragement from Lisandro Martinez and his parties that he'd be open to a move. At the same time as all this going on, reports emerged today that Arsenal want, I think his name's Alex, Grimaldo from Benfica.
Alejandro.
Oh, okay, right, there we
Alejandro Grimaldo, yeah.
Right, so he's a left-back from Benfica. We've already had one of those from last summer. He is a very neat player, good on the ball. I've not really seen him much, but I've done the old YouTube highlights over, before today. He's a good player, former Barcelona youth product, I believe.
Spanish.
Yeah, Spanish. So it makes you wonder whether he's an option. He's also got experience in central midfield. Whether he's a player who, 26 years of age, you've got the profile here, kind of fits the right mould. Could he be playing in that inverted kind of fullback role for Arsenal? And with these rumours appearing, that only suggests that maybe the eyes are being turned away from Lisandro because they're not getting enough encouragement. That's the deal they can do.
Listen, it can be a ploy sometimes, is that, and also you've got to have a plan B. So talking to somebody else who's a left back, we know we need a left back.
I think he's a good plan B, by the way. 26
years of age, like you said, round about 80 million is what some of the value... some people are saying about him. Only 1 year left on his contract as well,
right?
So that drives down the price a little bit.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, 1 year.
I saw a valuation. So I saw a valuation of around £7 million apparently.
It could even be that, but it's like what they're saying is current market value around about 18 million, but he's got 1 year left on his contract, so he'd be a lot cheaper than getting a Lisandro Martinez. But we've been told over the past week or so that Lisandro Martinez is Arsenal's number 1 target. I've always been a bit intrigued by Arsenal going for this player because we know that he can play 3 positions, right? So he can play centre back, he can play left back, and we've been told he can play defensive midfielder as well. But last season, he played literally all season at Ajax, exclusively as a centre back. Right. When he plays for Argentina, he plays as a centre back. I think he's played, defensive midfielder or left back once there.
Right.
So if you've played in that position all last season and you've been really successful, you know, he was Ajax's player of the season. He's nicknamed the Pitbull and the Butcher, and you know. Do you want to go somewhere now where you're going to become this utility player? So you may not be the centre back. You might have to play as a left back for most of the season, which isn't really your position. Or you might have to play as a defensive midfielder, which isn't... I mean, we hear all these things all the time, that this player can do this position, that... You know, Ben White, we were told, one of the great things about him is that he can play as a right back. But I wasn't that impressed seeing Ben White playing as a right back. He didn't seem very comfortable. He can obviously play that position, but he didn't seem super comfortable for me when he was playing as a right back. So the guy's done his best work as a centre back. We know we've got Gabriel, and I had Lee on the other day, the other Lee. We had this big thing about Gabriel, and he reckoned that he'd start ahead of Gabriel. I don't think he would. 5'9", he stands as a centre back in the Premier League. Is very small, isn't it? That's quite a short centre back. That worries me slightly. I've read a lot about him, and from what I've seen, he looks a real quality player. And listen, you don't get into that Argentinian team, you know, if you're not absolute quality. But I'm a bit worried about that height thing. So obviously, and I'm a bit worried about the fact that I do feel that Arsenal are predominantly looking to bring him to come in as a left back. But will he the player?
You
know, when you know,
it's not out of the realm of possibility that Arteta does, you know, scout a player to use him somewhere else, and he's actually got a history of this. You know,
of course, that can happen.
But he has done it. You know, Thomas Partey was a box to box and has used him more as a number 6 holding midfielder. When he arrived at the club, Bukayo Saka was more a left-sided player playing left back, left wing, and then he moved him to the right. With Odegaard, he was a number 10 who kind of played very central, and he's used him on the right of a midfield 3.
But you're missing the point in what I'm saying a bit, James. What I'm saying is, you as the player, you're obviously, you could be changed into these positions, but as the player, you might want to go somewhere where you're going to play doing what you did, what made you successful, what made you got noticed in the first place, which is playing as a centre back.
I do get what you're saying, but I think if I'm Arteta and I'm selling this project to Lisandro Martinez and I'm trying to guess where he wants to play him, right? So let's say it's left back. You're probably saying to him, okay, look, I want to play as your left back, but you're not going to be this bombing up and down, you know, like prime Gareth Bale left back. It's not going to be like that. You're going to be more of an inverted wing at left back. So actually, you're still playing quite central, and it's a bit like being a holding midfielder, but more from the left side, and you still get to defend in the areas you want to, and blah, blah, and it will suit all of your strengths and get the best out of your passing. And if you sell it like that, and you say, it's left back, but positionally it's more midfield, he might go, actually, that sounds really fun, plays to my strengths. I could be cover at centre back. I think you can sell the project there, because we don't play. We've not really seen a left back bomb up and down the pitch.
Yeah, could also those argue it and say, right, in his mind he could be like, well, I'm in the national team.
That is true.
As a centre back.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to be moved out of that position. To play in another position. There could be another centre back in Argentina who end up taking my place for the World Cup. I don't know. You know.
No, I get that.
So these sort of things to be thought about. He played for Ten Hag at Ajax. That's another thing that I've always thought. When I saw United interested in him, I'm like, this is dangerous, because he's already played for Ten Hag. You know, he knows Ten Hag. He's played a whole season for him, a successful season in which they've won the league. That's going to be a big pulling point. To get him over there, because you're going to a manager who knows you, who trusts you. But
this is a fear with all of Arsenal's targets, and I've honestly been saying it since day one with Raphinha, with Tielemans, with now Martinez. These players, I think they are open to joining Arsenal, would join Arsenal, but it is all about as well who else is in the market. And because we didn't get over the line with top 4, we are in that second bracket. We're in that. Well, as long as no one else comes in, the minute I know Man United aren't in the Champions League either, but they have that Ten Hag thing. They traditionally spend more money than us. They're traditionally a bigger club. All those things. It does make it a difficult selling point for Arsenal, which is why they've got to be quick with these things. With Raphinha, it felt we had a run for a week or two until Chelsea went, actually, we will pay the money. And now, actually, you've not really heard about anything since anything.
Well, yeah, it looks like he looks like he's off to Barcelona, possibly. Although the talk is that Chelsea still desperately want him, and Arsenal are monitoring the situation and could make a move. But just going back to Lisandro Martinez situation again now. We had this debate the other night when I was on with Lee. Would he start ahead of Gabriel?
Not for me.
If Gabriel's fit.
Not for me.
If Kieran Tierney's fit, does he start ahead of him?
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly.
I think he does, yeah. For considering the role Arteta...
Possibly? Or possibly that means he's not a certainty to start there, yeah?
I think the reason I say possibly is because it's so hard to judge off a YouTube compilation and some data here and there and all that. So, and I love Kieran Tierney. I think there's an immensely talented player, but I'm always trying to fit players into what Arteta's trying to do. It's like that video, the 5 alternatives the other day. I'm trying to think the way they're thinking, because what's the point me saying, let's get this player who actually doesn't fit anything we want to do? Kieran Tierney's best at Arsenal, best form has been when he's been bombing up and down. He drops a shoulder, knocks the ball past, and he gets a ball into the box. That's his best thing. But Arteta hasn't wanted that from his fullbacks for a while. They don't really do that. Cedric kind of does it sometimes, but barely. So actually, I think he wants a player who does a little bit more of what like Cancelo does in more central areas for Man City. And I think Martinez probably suits us better. He's a better passer of the ball. He's more natural in central midfield position. You wouldn't
start him ahead of Gabriel?
I wouldn't. No.
Guendouzi, you hear that? I know he's watching because I see he put a chat in there. He said, bring Guendouzi back and sell Xhaka. But he's put, big up Guendouzi. He was brilliant on there the other night. But so, this is a question I'm going to ask you now, right? Yeah. So you've said you wouldn't start him as a centre-back. No. And it's touch and go whether he start as a left-back. Yeah. So therefore, should we spend £43 million on a player that's going to be a backup?
But he's not going to be a backup because Tierney's injury record is so unreliable.
No, but if Tierney's fit, let's say Tierney's fit, he probably starts, doesn't he? I know what you're saying, but if Kieran Tierney's fit, he's probably going to start. He's quite an integral part of the team. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people who say he should be captain. Injuries aside, if Kieran Tierney's fully fit, he's probably going to start. Do you pay £43 million for a backup?
I am inclined to agree with you, Robbie. But if they're paying £43 million, it's because they see him as a potential starter. That's why. If Arsenal get to that price, it's a bit like Ben White. Ben White, they got to 50 million because ultimately that is who Arteta wanted. And they just said, you know what, fine, we'll pay the going rate. And that was the point Lee was making yesterday. With Lisandro Martinez, if they are willing to get to that 43 million, whatever it is, it's not because they see him as the perfect backup to Kieran Tierney. It's because they actually see him as a first teamer. They see him as someone who can start, and he either doesn't weaken us, or if anything's an upgrade on Tierney, or maybe offers something different. They might even see him as an upgrade to El Neni and Lokonga as a backup to Partey. They might see him as an upgrade as a left-sided and left ball-playing centre-back to Gabriel for certain games, or as a better backup to Gabriel than Mari. They probably see 5 or 6 different uses for him and think, you know what, he's absolutely worth it. And over...
How many times do you see a player come in and they have 5 or 6 uses? They don't, do they?
Manchester City
we'll say this about a lot of players.
I know what you mean,
and they come in and they won't have 4 or 5 uses. You know what I mean? Nobody really wants to be that James Milner type player, this utility all over the place.
The best teams have him,
I'll tell you one thing.
The best teams have him.
Yeah, but but Zinchenko always plays as a left back.
No, but he's also played in midfield for them. He's played in midfield. Yeah, he's played in midfield.
Odd, maybe one game.
A couple.
But he plays as a left back. So I'm saying £43 million. The reason why I'm sort of raising this as well, because I'm just saying, if we pay £43 million, we go all out to get Lisandro Martinez. then I'll be a bit upset that we didn't go all out to get Raphinha.
Okay, no,
because I'll be like, well, why did we stop on Raphinha, but we've gone all out for this? For a player that's possibly going to be backup.
What if Arsenal got Lisandro Martinez and Yuri Tielemans and they ultimately paid the going rate and what the clubs wanted? Would you forgive the Raphinha thing?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, it's a tough
Although
one.
I would like to see an exciting player like Raphinha come in, but
yeah, I do think Arsenal need that £50 million marquee.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I know Jesus for 45 million from Man City.
That might be Lisandro Martinez. Lisandro Martinez may cost literally the same as Gabriel Jesus.
But Arteta needs. This is just my opinion, and he'll know more than me. But I think he needs his big summer of investment to. His big investment, the Ben White of last year, for me, has to be a forward. Now, I know Jesus is coming for 45 million. I'm not trying to play that down. I think it's a fantastic signing. And people will be saying, how greedy are you? You've already got Jesus, you want someone else. But think how little...
because we need more.
Think how little he's invested in the forward line compared to the defence. Ramsdale, 30 million. Gabriel, 27 million. Ben White, 50 million. Tomiyasu, 18 to 20 million. Now, Lisandro Martinez for another... 30, well,
it's going to be 40, at least 40.
So that's, I'm not doing the maths, but that is a lot of money. That is well over 100, 150 million on the defence. And he's not put that same investment into the front line. Now, maybe a little bit more in midfield. Partey, 45, Odegaard, Vieira, fine. We saw Vieira and Odegaard more recently. But he's got to add to the front line. We need to see his strikers, his goal scorers,
well, that's what I'm saying,
finishers.
right? If we go all out and we put that 43 million for a player that's going to be, nobody seems to be able to tell me where exactly he's even going to play. I'm
telling you,
decisively.
I'm telling
me where he's going to play. I'd be a little bit upset because I'd be like, we could have went all out. I'm not saying we would have got Raphinha because it does look like his heart's set on Barcelona, but it could have been a thing that when Chelsea said, right, 65 and that was accepted, we could have also said 65 and accept ours as well. Then, right, it's down to you. Choose where you're going. So, let me, there's a load of super chats coming in. Let me get through some of these.
Meanwhile, I'm going to check Twitter and see if there's any update.
Any announcements? TB says, what is your optimal alternatives for Raphinha? He says, I would like Gnabry, but if not, why not buy Asensio for cheaper and a third striker like Scamacca? Good suggestions there. Go over and check out James's video. He's done a 5 alternatives to Raphinha.
Thank you. Yes,
so make sure you check it out. Isabel says, by the way, Robbie, it was Nikola Jovic and not Nikola Jokic and not Jovic. Or is it Jokic and not? I was talking about this morning. Nikola Jokic, he's the NBA player.
Okay.
Stan Kroenke's just given the biggest contract to
I've just
another
heard,
one. Right? Yeah. He's done it with the American football teams. You can do Raphinha as well. You know what I mean? Right? Okay. Big up to Guendouzi. I read that one already. He said, bring back Guendouzi and sell Xhaka. They'd be a different type of players, aren't they? But certainly we let Guendouzi go for too cheap. That's my opinion. Bob Marley says, AFTV guests preferred Xhaka when Guendouzi was here. I'm not saying Guendouzi should be here. I'm saying... not even 10 million for Guendouzi. And I'm seeing all these other players, the money, as I said, that Chet Decory is going from Lens, who's not an international, not a French international, going from Lens to Crystal Palace for over 20 million. It don't make no sense to me.
Yeah.
Smokey Setting says, Robbie, Gerson had a better season than Guendouzi. Robbie Gerson. Or was he on about me,
I think he's just saying Robbie Gerson had a better season than Guendouzi.
Yeah, but we're still selling him cheap. Tony says Guendouzi won't ever play in a first team for a top club, though. Martinez is super slow, especially for the Prem. It was a risky buy in the first place. Well, we don't know if he's going to United yet. Just a lot of people suggesting that maybe United are the favourites now to sign Lisandro Martinez. Rashad says Arteta has issues with players because they don't respect him. With Conte, it's a teacher-student relationship. When teacher let you go home, you go. KD says, when you've lost Raphinha and you need to, this guy who would fit in many places, come on, 5 million can't be spared. He said he'd be furious if we lose out.
He's basically saying he's worth the extra 5. Just get it done.
Benny says Yuri is a great opportunity for a potential world-class player. Former wonder kid. Drives me mad that he's not a priority number 1. You know what? And if you watch the Invincible podcast, me and Lee, we're discussing that as well. Yuri Tielemans, of course, who he's talking about there.
We've got to talk about it today.
Yeah, Darren says, for all we know, we could be going for a back 3.
No.
Tom says, Robbie, I hear what you're saying, but I can see Tierney and Gabby being enticed with transfers to Madrid and Juventus, and so Arsenal are making good precautions. 4 years, top players have gone, and then we have to rely on the youth. Yeah, but they ain't gone yet, have they? You know? TAA66 says, I thought we would sign Salah for the upcoming summer. Yes, that's very funny. Of course, Salah signing a new contract today with Liverpool. Name says, if Kieran Tierney is fit, he plays instead of Xhaka. Xhaka? Xhaka's not going to play in his position. Nope. Tony Jones says, Carlos Soler is 20 million with 1 year left. He has everything for the left and centre mid role that we need. Is Gundogan times Hendo. Sweating on him. Eric says, James, pronounce the S in Tielemans. Why don't you?
Just for that comment, I'm just going to not pronounce it. I'm that level of petty.
Jamar says, stop talking about backup. We have a very slim squad. We need players. There are a lot of games next season. We're short and we need players. I am with you on that. I've been saying that from before the window even opened. But all I'm saying is, I'm just going off of what I saw with the Raphinha thing. I'm reading between the lines here.
Yeah.
With Raphinha, we were not prepared to match the bid of 65 million. Basically, Chelsea have gone to Leeds United and they've said, how much?
Yeah.
Leeds have said, well, you 65 million, you can have him. And Chelsea have said, here it is. We want him.
Yeah.
We didn't match that. So it's only because at the moment, Barcelona are in for him that he hasn't gone yet to Chelsea. But Chelsea have, they've agreed a fee with Leeds. We didn't. And we haven't gone forth and said, all right, you know what, we'll also match that. Mm-hmm. So then it comes down to a 3-way split, Barcelona, Arsenal, or Leeds. We've not, as of yet, we've not matched that.
Yep.
And I'm just looking at it and thinking, we haven't matched that because we don't want to go so high.
Yep.
Right? Either that or we've had a complete shout on it where they've, maybe Deco said to Edu, don't waste your time. He's not interested in anything apart from Barcelona. But then if he does end up going to Chelsea, then I look on it and think, well, so if we're splashing that extra for players is going to be probably, we're not sure if he's going to start, it just seems a bit strange to me. Yeah. The Real Focus says Tierney hasn't shown he's fit enough to be the main left back in all competitions. If Martinez comes to play, Tierney should be in the Europa League and Martinez in the Premier League. Yes, Ross, we should go for Messi. James Gunman says, Jesus is not a 20-goal a season dude. Get Osimhen. Well, we're not going to get Osimhen because we've already got Jesus. And Osimhen, they want about 100 million. Cirque says, Tielemans and Gnabry, I'm happy. We're going to do this. Well, I'm not too sure I don't think we'll get Gnabry, if I'm being honest. Mad Lucas says, whatever happened to the Isaac signing? And thoughts on Gnabry replacing Raphinha would be a great replacement. But, I'm not sure that will happen. He makes a great... You know what, right? I want people now... What's his name? Mad Luca. I like the point you made there, right? Last season, everybody was jumping up and down. Get Isaac this, Isaac... I know this name and mentioned once.
No,
this season.
You're right. And it's a lesson.
Right. Buendia. There was this, I can't remember his name, but there's one certain person, every day, we need to get Buendia. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think you do. I actually don't, but I feel like you do know. Who are you talking about?
You.
Was it me?
You. Oh. Buendia. But so sometimes, you know what? The players that we're chasing down as well, like even with this Lissandro.
Did I really? Oh, God.
Sometimes the players that we keep going on about, it may not even be the necessary right fit. The one on Isaac, that has gone really cold, hasn't it? No, yeah. I've not heard anybody say, why don't we go for him?
Well, he's a lesson. this is a very good lesson for clubs sometimes. You know, when you've got a player and you know, what was it, 90 million, what was it, 75 million pound release clause? What was it? It's so ridiculous, right? 75 million
Yeah,
pound.
and how many people were saying, pay it?
Yeah, just pay it.
Arsenal, just pay it.
Well, listen, maybe if we paid it, we might have got Champions League football. Maybe. An extra win with a player like Isaac. And I don't know. Maybe. We're talking about one extra win. Maybe. I don't know. Would Isaac have guaranteed us an extra win? He wouldn't have guaranteed anything, but maybe. It's a conversation for another day. My point is, a club like Sociedad might think, you know, what was the bid? I think his release clause is 75. Arsenal will only go to 60 or something. And they said no. I think they'd do well to get 45 now for him.
His market 50. Value, so he's like 27 million his market value is at the moment. He only scored 5 goals last season.
And this is the thing. In a market that, you know, people are very scared about spending money for strikers because a Darwin Núñez has sort of one good season and he goes for 60, 70 million or whatever to Liverpool.
85.
Okay, well, there you go. It's an unbelievable amount. There's very few guarantees when it comes to signing strikers. Very, very, very few. Which is why I think Jesus is a good deal. Because
yes, that's what I think. Because
we can see
do you know what it is?
League.
There's those two players, Jesus and Raphinha. Yeah. The reason why I'm like happy, I'm happy with the Jesus signing because we've seen him.
Yeah.
So, and he knows the Premier League. You're not going to have to come in, acclimatise. We know that guy is going to score goals at Arsenal, right? I look at Raphinha, and if Raphinha comes to Arsenal, I've seen the guy so many times playing for Leeds. You know he's going to do good.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why. Some other players, you got to be, you know, when you're quoted these mega fees, you have to be a little, like you said, you've got to be a bit careful, but that's a great point.
And now they might not get that same money back, and they're probably sitting there going, "Oh, should we have? What did they get out of Isaac? I mean, listen, performances might have been good, but they got an extra 2 goals out of him throughout the rest of the season. I'm not saying he'd played badly for them, but yeah, it gets to a point where you think, could you have maybe just, I don't know, maybe the 60 million is worth it. I think you're going to find clubs more than ever saying, you know what, we're not just going to pay what the other club want because fees have got so ridiculous. That
thing is, when you know, we just spent the last 10 minutes or so talking about, you know, just pay it. So that's the thing. I
don't think me and you. Who have we said that about?
But I'm saying as fans. Well, I'm saying that with the one for Raphinha, I would have been like,
I think Raphinha.
Match that.
But I think Raphinha is worth 60, 65. That's the difference. But if they were quoting,
we see him all the time.
If they're quoting 50, 60 for Tielemans, I don't think we'd be saying that. We've said, listen, there's others out there. I think clubs are starting to get shrewder with actually where they're investing their money, and they're starting to go, listen, we're not gonna. And actually, I rarely give credit to them, but Man United, for example, I'll give credit. They did that with Jadon Sancho. Dortmund was saying 100 million or 90 million, whatever it was. They said, we're not paying it. A year later, going for 20 million less. Because they just said it's just not. And I do think clubs are going to start doing that more.
So then, are Arsenal right in what they're doing? Like, let's just say, for instance, we do go for instance, Tielemans.
Yeah.
We haven't gone from yet. Everybody's saying pay it. Right? Leicester at this moment in time are probably won about 35 million pounds. Maybe Arsenal are right to say, well, you know, if we are going to go for him, we're going to wait. We'll wait it out. Later on in the window, you're not going to let him go with a year left so we can get him cheaper.
It's case by case.
It's dangerous, but it's sensible in a way.
It's case by case. But Isaac's a good example of someone whose goal-scoring record is absolutely nothing to shout home about. I really like Isaac. I think there's a top player potentially in there. But again, I got caught up in the just get him in, you know, we need him. And listen, that might have got us Champions League football over the line. But they didn't. And now you're right. Now 6 months on, we're not sitting here going, go back for Isaac.
I always looked at Isaac and just thought the goal scoring record is so low.
Yeah.
Right? We want goals. It's not just hold up play, we want goals.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, is Isaac better than what we have at the moment? I didn't think it was. Right?
I think it's an all-round
And then I look at Lisandro Martinez and I like the look of this guy. I like the look of everything. But he played as mainly as a centre-back and he's a bit too short for a centre-back in the Premier League.
It's a difficult
Is he going to start all the time? And I'm just like, if the resources...
Yeah.
Not that I'm against the signing of Lisandro Martinez because he looks like absolute quality, but I'll be just intrigued to find out exactly what his position would be. I guess, like you said, it is going to be a left-back.
But it's really difficult for us because here we are, we're guessing, we're trying to figure out what they're doing by reading between the lines. But the reality is Arsenal have all this information where Leicester would have said, this is the fee. Ajax would have said, this is the fee. Kroenke would have said, this is your budget. And when you know all those things, you get a much better picture. And actually, when you look at it all, you might go, yeah, we can't do Raphinha at 60 million. We just can't do it because these two are more important and those are the fees and whatever. We're just trying to kind of guess and maybe squeeze a little bit more here and say, well, I'll just pay it. And, you know, it is difficult. But Arsenal can't rest on their laurels because the other bit of news from today was that Man United are potentially keeping on Youri Tielemans because Arsenal haven't been able to agree a deal with Leicester. And that's another one, you know. Yeah. You can't just wait till the price goes down and he'll be less later. Yeah, well, he won't be less later when he's got a 5-year contract to Man United and they, announced him. It's there's such a fine balance between negotiation and actually just losing out completely because there are other parties that can come in at any moment.
Yeah, you need to listen. The one thing I know, right, is in this transfer business, you need a cool head.
Yeah,
you know, you can go running into getting certain deals done, as we saw with Chelsea last year and Lukaku, and let's be real right now. Lukaku, who had an amazing season the year before at Inter, did not fit Chelsea. Just like when he came to Man United, he did not fit Man United. He completely fitted Inter Milan because of the way they play. It's all into that big front centre forward. Chelsea don't play like that. So, but they just went after the big name and, we need goals. He scores loads of goals. So I do want the right decisions to be made. It does require a really, really cool head, especially when there's a lot of noise coming from people like me and everybody out there watching this who wants to see transfers and wants to see them right now.
Yeah.
Mar Smith, let me get some what these chats here. Mar Smith says, do you think if we don't get Martinez, Arsenal will pull the trigger on Tielemans and potentially Hickey? That's gone quiet, isn't it? Hickey, as Martinez can fill both roles.
There's always a Hickey there's always a Hickey type.
That's gone really quiet, isn't it?
There's always a Hickey type rumour with every window where there's one that everyone kind of claims we're in for, except for maybe the most reliable journalists go, listen, I don't think there's a lot in this. And it drags out the whole way. I would be surprised if that happened.
Okay, Reshi says, Belotti on a free. I know you're Italian. Belotti on a free value for depth and physicality.
I don't think
released today by, well, not released, but his contract has finished at Torino. Belotti, another player that a couple of seasons ago, available. This is where the clubs as well have to be careful with what they do, because a couple of seasons ago they were talking 40 million, 45 for Belotti, and a lot of teams were just like, oh, no, that's too much. We'll give you like 30. And like, nope, Torino. Now he's gone away for nothing. He's left for free.
Exactly, and another good example.
Would he represent a player that could be your plan B? Because when you see how he plays, he doesn't look like he's made for the Premier League. And big physical.
He's absolutely a plan B. He's absolutely a plan B. I don't think he's exactly what we're looking for in that front line. But there's a good player there. Clearly, his record in Italy is good. I wouldn't be surprised if Spurs go in for him. Free transfer. Italian, Conte will know him well. Not necessarily. I don't think he's worked with him, but he'll know him.
Although I think like a player like Belotti's going to want to start wherever he goes. Although big wages can always sway someone's mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you're Spurs, you've just got Richarlison through the door. You can kind of play across those positions, and maybe Belotti's the backup to Kane. I don't know. Maybe that could happen.
All right, Alex McCarthy says Raf's heart is in Barcelona.
Yeah.
Raphinha he's talking about, of course. He says, move on and use the 65 million to sign Martinez and Tielemans. Also, Kieran Tierney no longer starts for me. He has to prove his fitness and his backup. Airborne says 55 million plus Sambi for a season to replace Phillips in order to get Raphinha. Ruben Neves instead of Tielemans. Ivan Toney on deadline day. Oof.
Oh, that's interesting. So use Lokonga as a make-weight potentially. He gets Premier League football. I mean, I don't know if they'd go for that, but I would like to see Lokonga get a year's loan in the Premier League.
Okay, Matt says, James UKC after party. What's this about? Is this some coded stuff?
It's not even code. He somehow knows where I went to uni, but I don't know why.
At Wednesday, you up for it? What is that?
It's just a night out.
Wednesday.
UKC stands for University of Kent.
What's a Wednesday?
It's just a night out.
Hey, there's some sort of what's going on this, man? Hey, fill us in on a bit more information there, Matt. You know what I mean?
There's nothing to it. It's a night out on a Wednesday. That's what
Is there any information there that we need to know about?
Well,
right, let us know.
You can come if you want. I haven't been for many years.
Shref says, worried that we won't get the outgoings done and end up with unhappy guys. There's always drama. Guess we'll get one or two players. Not sure about Shortman, Lizzie. Oh, he's on about Lisandro Martinez. Oh, right. Short man, Lizzie. God, he's got him. Yeah, what about Trossard, a top player, says Tom?
I mentioned him in my 5 as a plan B.
It's all right.
Yeah, I agree. He's not one I'd personally go for. But
VJ says, my thing is, you know, again, with this transfer thing, I don't want Arsenal just going out and buying in, you know. I want Arsenal to go out there and get players that are going to change what we're doing. Game-changing players.
But I think Arsenal are
Trossard is not that.
No, I agree. I think Arsenal are trying to do that, but there's only so much you can do, and you've got to have the Trossards in. And I actually like Trossard. I think he's a good player.
Yeah,
but
he's
I agree.
good. He's all right, but
he doesn't change anything for us.
Yeah,
he
doesn't push us towards the top 4 or trophies, does he?
No, I agree. And I think that's where I think Arsenal are trying, but you might have to turn to your Trossards.
Yeah. Come on, Robbie. Isak, says VJ. All right, yeah, I forgot. Everyone said it was not Isak, it's Isak.
Is it? Okay.
Charlie says Martinez better for a drop-off than Nuno, no denying. Ash says, really nice to see James flourish on AFTV and DR Sports. Big up to Robbie for promoting the youth and advancing those Arsenal values we hold dear. I'm Arteta now, eh?
Well, thank you very much.
I'm promoting the youth.
Ash and Robbie.
Trust the process, guys. You know what I mean? James and Cecil.
Yeah.
Oh, no. He wrecked the process.
No, Turkish will wreck the process. You've got to have some experience in there.
He's our Xhaka.
Oh, no, don't tell him that. You're lucky he's in Dubai.
Name says, I meant if Kieran Tierney fits Martinez, plays instead of Xhaka.
If Kieran Tierney's fit, Martinez plays instead of Xhaka. In the midfield 3, I mean, that had crossed my mind, but does he get that far forward? Is he that attacking? I don't know. I mean, maybe, but I haven't seen that.
Ibrima says, hey, Don Robbie, are you coming to Germany, Nuremberg? Now, I myself, personally, I've got to go to a funeral next week, Friday, on the same day of the game. Personal friend of mine who unfortunately passed away. So I won't be there, but the rest of the team are going to be there. Lee Judge is going to be there as well. So look out for that. Arsenal, of course, playing over there in Nuremberg next week. Will Lisandro Martinez be playing? Will Jesus be playing? Will he be announced yet?
Probably not.
Any announcements yet?
Nope.
Nothing? Airborne says Gnabry, Lisandro, Neves, and 40 million plus Balogun for Tony. Jeez, it's got it all worked out, hasn't he? Samuel says best of enemies was so awesome today, Robbie. Today he says Robbie and X make a dream team, hilarious and great entertainment. You've got to go over and check that. That was our Wimbledon special, we called it. All right, so make sure you check it out. On the subject of Wimbledon, hey, listen, you know what? I am trusting the process. You've been doing a brilliant job.
Oh, well, thank you. Cheers.
Is Wimbledon stuff he's been doing over on DR. Number one, I knew you said you were into tennis. I never knew you were that deep. You were like deep into tennis, aren't you?
Well, no.
You love
it. I love Wimbledon. There is a difference. Like when Wimbledon comes around, I know enough to get by, and I get really engrossed in the championships every year. And I do. Do you know what? I watch a lot of the slams actually when the US, Australian, and French come round.
I've been really impressed by your coverage.
Okay, thank you.
Make sure you go and check that out afterwards. What time are you on tonight?
I think we're on at 7:45 tonight. So
7:45 on DR Sports.
Do come check it out.
Jet, who's with you tonight?
I think it's me and AGT. We've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, Lee Judge is on it. What does he know about tennis?
Do you know what surprised us all? He loves his tennis.
I thought he only went to Wimbledon for the freebie, but he did actually know his stuff. Diego says, for some reason, I feel like this transfer window will be filled with surprises.
Yeah, I agree.
So he says, right now I'm going to wait. But Arsenal need to hurry because we'll lose our targets. Lots of love to you guys.
That's my favourite super chat of the day, Diego. I agree. I think it is going to be filled with surprises, but they've got to come quickly.
Yeah, I agree. Diego, you know what it is, right? we do need to show a lot of patience in this transfer window, but we're hurt, man. We are, as fans, have had years and years of pain. We're traumatized. So, when we hear, Lisandro Martinez has got to choose between Arsenal and Man United.
Yeah.
The trauma comes back of all the other years, and when we link to a player and then all of a sudden, like the other day, Raphinha stuff, it just returns. The trauma returns, When we see players that look like they'd be obviously perfect for Arsenal and we don't go and get them, the trauma returns, Dave Jordan says, can't judge a window until the end of the season. Top 4 or bust, he says. Big up to Abdul. Baldur says, Robbie, Arsenal is waiting for Jesus to get injured like Vieira. We'll only sign Gabriel's or injured players. Good show. We only sign Gabriel's. Go get Dybala, for God's sake, says Ear Ace. I saw a link with him today. I can't see that. Abinam News says there are now reports of United looking to sign Tielemans as well. That's what we just said. What are your thoughts? Whoever gets Martinez and Tielemans gets some quality players, says Cheese Doodle. And Name says James Partey, by the way, James Partey back-to-back, Odegaard and Martinez holding. That's another position Martinez could play in.
Oh, he's saying, Partey box-to-box with then Martinez holding. Yeah, I guess you could. Yeah, I don't think Arteta would do it.
What was that other bit of news you were telling me earlier on about the great Mike Dean?
Well, yeah. Do you know what? There was another bit of news, actually, on that midfield thing, was that we've been linked with Amadou Onana today, the Lille midfielder. I'll leave that for you to chat about more on Transfer Daily.
I'll talk about that tomorrow.
But that did pop up, and it, when all these other midfield options pop up, I start getting worried about the targets like Tielemans and all that. So the other bit of news from today.
Do you know what someone in the office said?
Yeah.
He looks like a very Arsenal signing.
Right.
But
good on the ball.
Well, just that we've never heard 20. Of him, and he's an alternative to an obvious target,
Yeah.
Cheaper, in other words.
Yeah.
But carry on.
Mike Dean is back, people. He's back. Now, obviously, he ended his refereeing career at the end of last season. Blew the whistle for the final time. I think he was at Selhurst Park. But he is back. He's in VAR. So he can haunt us one more time. I've no doubt.
Do you believe that? They put Mike Dean in charge of VAR.
Well,
no.
They're just taking. Or is he just in it?
As far as what I saw, he's in charge of the.
I'll have a little
he's
look.
in charge of the VAR operations. So he's in charge of all the referees and all that. I mean, you couldn't write it.
Get your excuses ready, people. Let's have a little
Wait till
look.
Ty hears that.
He's staying in the Premier League after signing a deal to become a dedicated VAR official at Stockley Park.
There you go. So he's still going to be involved in it.
Wow.
ODG says, big up the Don and James. Keep up the good work. Happy Canada Day as well to all Canadians watching. I wasn't aware of that. Happy Canada Day. He says, any plans on visiting Canada? We were discussing that the other day. We're discussing a few locations because remember we went to Nigeria and Canada's one of the places we're speaking about. So you never know. You never know. Man.
Love it. I'd love to go to Canada.
Did I pronounce that name right? How do you pronounce that?
O or DGA, maybe?
Okay.
Or DGA?
We'd love to come to Canada. I've got a lot of family in Canada as well. Hadi says, Fabio Vieira signing of the season, mark my words. If he can get that boot off.
Oh.
Honestly, when I saw that, I was like, oh my God. Yeah. It can't be. It can't be. Well, listen, we've come towards the end of the show today. Listen, make sure you check out our content over the weekend. We've got some brilliant stuff coming up. The Claude Cup that we did last week, we got the semi-finals that were played, the 2 semi-finals, with commentary from me and Lee Judges. It's absolutely brilliant. So make sure you check that out. I think that's going to be out, either tomorrow or Sunday. It's out over the weekend anyway. My interview that I did with Fumes, the engineer, massive Arsenal fan. We're locked in. You know what I mean? So you got to make sure you check that out as well. That's absolutely brilliant as well. And also some fantastic content coming up right across the weekend. We're still waiting on Gabriel Jesus to be announced as of 6 o'clock. It's still not been announced, but you never know. Maybe later on tonight. Maybe it might be over the weekend.
That might be. I now think it's going to be early next week, but we'll see.
Maybe before the trip to Nuremberg, it might be announced.
That would be nice. That would be nice.
But yeah, make sure you check out the content. Don't forget to subscribe here. When you subscribe, you get all the notifications. You will not miss out on any breaking news regarding any of the Arsenal transfers. So make sure you check it out. James,
big thank you.
What are you up to for the rest of the...
I'm watching tennis
tonight, innit?
I'm watching tennis.
Rest of the weekend?
Watching tennis.
Yeah?
Yeah, it goes. It's on all weekend. It's on Sunday. It's... Yeah, that's me for 2 weeks.
Not taking a trip down to, where was it, UKC or what?
Absolutely not. No, I won't be going back for a while.
I see that. I'm just wondering about this coded message.
It's not coded. It's just a weird message. Yeah, if you want, I'm sure I can sort of guest appearance for you there if you want. You want? No,
I don't want police turning up here. That's all I want to know, right? But listen, thanks very much for watching the show. Big up to Joe as well, who's been producing the show today, and we'll be back on Monday.